Hey guys, it's Nichole Eaton with the Rock Your Soul book and podcast, where we talk about how to hack your mindset, grow your intuition, and live your best life. You can support this podcast by subscribing, leaving a positive review, and screenshot and sharing on social media. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Rock Your Soul podcast. I'm your host, Nichole Eaton, author of the book Rock Your Soul, the Down to Earth Guide to Master Your Mind and Soul Therapist. Today, I want to talk about a topic that comes up a lot in sessions. As somebody who is intuitive, people are often looking to me for a idea of what their purpose is. And so I felt called to just explore this topic with you. If you are somebody who has been doing a lot of things that maybe they don't love and just really feeling like there's got to be something more. And I think that is like one of the best and worst feelings, right? Is when we feel like, man, there's got to be something more. This is like all part of a spiritual awakening, right? When we stop doing the things we think we should do and we start doing the things that our soul is ready to do. And so we feel this like little push, this little nudge of this idea that maybe there's something more for me. Maybe there's something more to be done or something that will bring me joy more. And a lot of times people will get that sensation without having the direction from the universe of what that actually is. And I think that can be a really challenging space to be in. So if you are one of those people who's like, man, I just feel like there's got to be something more for me, but I don't know what my purpose is, this is for you. One of the most important thing I can tell you is that nobody can tell you your purpose. I think even as an intuitive, I can guide you to the things that light you up in the recognition of your soul's callings, but I will never be able to sit down and tell you this is what you'll be doing. This is all the things that will lead up to your path. If somebody would have told me a decade ago that I would be doing a podcast, a book, that I would be incredibly intuitive and would have changed the way I do mental health therapy, I would have just looked at them like they were absolutely batshit crazy. That wasn't in my wheelhouse of thought or my frame of reference of knowledge. So if somebody would have told me that, I it would have been right, but I wouldn't have accepted it as my truth. And this is something I tell clients a lot. I wouldn't have accepted it as my truth because it was so freaking different from what I was doing already. I needed the intuition to really spark up within me. I needed to learn how to use it. I needed to go off on my own business and start clarity. I needed to do a lot of things that at the time weren't in my frame of reference, weren't something that was presented to me already. And I think that's really tricky because it's like, how do we get from point A to point B? And what we want is that straight shot. We want someone to tell us to do. Like when I was getting my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, it was you have to take this class and you have to take that class. And then when you take this class and that class, then you'll have this certificate. And then you can go apply for this. And then when you're done with this, you'll get the licensure. And then when you get the licensure, you can apply for a job. And so our society is used to having things drawn out for us. We're used to having a point A to point B with all the instructions in between. Our soul's purpose is a little different than that. Our soul's purpose often comes when we've gone through a challenging time. It often comes from feeling dissatisfied. It often comes from being fed up with something. It often comes from a learning curve. It often comes from new information presented in a way that we're trying to figure out and we need to learn about. And a lot of times people confuse soul purpose with career. And although it can be a career, and a lot of times people will gravitate towards it being career, our soul's purpose is like who we are designed to be and who our soul's highest, best expression is. That's your purpose. Your purpose sometimes isn't your career. It doesn't really matter what the hell you do. It doesn't. And people want it to. They want to equate both of them together. They want to leave their impact on the world. But just think about, I think about we had this secretary at my high school, and this woman was the sweetest woman. She would help you out. She would go above and beyond for you. Was her purpose to be a secretary? Maybe not in the traditional job trajectory, but Did she impact everybody she was near by being completely and fully herself? Did she spread light through everybody's day? Did she make everyone's energy shift up a notch just by being around her? Yes. So sometimes when we have to ask ourselves, what am I actually digging for? Am I digging for my truth? Am I digging for who I'm actually am? Am I digging for a career option? Like, what am I digging for when I'm asking, what's my purpose? You have to get clear about those things. And sometimes people will be like, I want to be successful, or I want to be this, or I want to be that. And I'll ask you, what's the real question there? What is it that you're really looking for when you're asking that question? What is it that your soul is needing more of to know? Because as much as, like I said, as much as we want our purpose to be tied up into our career, sometimes it's just the expression of who you are. And here's the fucking cool part. Here is the coolest part about all of that. There's like a handful of things that really allow us to step into our purpose, right? Being completely authentically ourselves and following our light. That's it. Because when you're fully into your light, when you are a higher expression of yourself, and we talk about this a lot with manifestation, when we are a full expression of ourselves, opportunities just show up. The right people just show up. The right experiences and invitations just show up. Because when we're at a high frequency, we're vibrating on that penthouse level, we're attracting penthouse stuff. So sometimes our purpose really comes down to just getting clear about who we are. Who do we want to be? And then taking those daily steps to be that. Taking those little steps to say, what lights me up? What do I love doing? How do I do more of that? And that may look different every day. That may look like one day you meditate and one day you go for a walk. That may look like one day you meet with this friend and one day you meet with that friend. Part of being on purpose within yourself is listening to those little nudges of where your soul is asking you to go, what is asking you to do, what is asking you to be. Because we've spent a very, very long time overriding it all with what we feel like we should be or should do, or how we should act, or what we should say. And that's honestly exhausting. And I always feel like at some point, and I love how people call it a midlife crisis, right? But at some point, people have that shaking of, man, life is short. And my grandpa passed away last week when I was in Utah. I went to his funeral last week. I was just thinking, when the pastor was speaking on his life and how full my grandpa was 93, he had a very full life, and I was thinking on his life, like, wow, when you're at a funeral and you're in a cemetery and you're looking at the headstones, and some of them have shorter life to death dates than you'd like them to, and it just becomes very fragile and it becomes very real that we don't have a lot of time here. So why would we waste it doing things we hate? Why would we waste it with people we don't want to be with? Why would we continue to engage in toxic patterns that we know are not lifting us up or getting us to where we ultimately want to go? And at some point, you do have to say, I don't know what the future holds, but it's got to be better than this. Because as we've talked about a million times over, the future can be scary. The unknown can be scary. And it's up to us to embrace it. And it's up to us to say, I don't know what the future holds, but God, it has to be better than what I've been dealing with or putting up with. It has to be better than what I've been accepting in my life from people. If I've been accepting breadcrumbs, if I've been accepting people who are so inconsistent, or situations that are just burning me out, now's a beautiful, beautiful time to look at your life. What did this retrograde clear away for you? Where is your soul pulling you? And sometimes we've buried our soul so long that it's harder to hear. And sometimes it's really freaking loud. Sometimes it's like, what have you been doing? Do we need to speak louder? But it's up to you to decide where you're at in that process. And even if right now you say, I'm ready to be on purpose in my life, guide me to that. Huge fan of inviting the universe in, guys. The minute you start to just be consciously in your present body and inviting the universe in, that's a game changer. Invite God in, invite whatever you believe in. That's a game changer. It is a game changer to say, I'm ready. To put your hand over your heart and to breathe and just feel into your energy, feel into your soul. Invite the universe in for guidance, invite your soul to speak up. And that may not look like an instantaneous response, or it might. But maybe that looks like gently being nudged towards a walk tonight with your family, or feeling the need to forgive, whether that's forgiveness of yourself or someone else. The universe doesn't skip a step when it comes to healing, and it doesn't skip a step when it comes to wholeness, and it doesn't skip a step because it wants you to be on purpose as much as you want to be on purpose. And you have free will, so it's not like the universe can come in and swoop things out of the way for you. You have to make an active choice. You are a participant in your life, and you have to be. And you have to demand more for yourself. You have to be done with the things that aren't serving you. You have to step into your fullness. That is how you find your purpose. You don't find your purpose through force or an intuitive. I mean, I can give you an idea, but again, sometimes we need all of the experiences that are on our path, that are us following our light to get there. Sometimes that simple shift in, okay, just for today, I will follow my light. Just for today, I will follow the things that light me up, the things that make me forget about time, the things that make me feel joyful. And I'll give you a hint, it's probably not your phone. Being in the present moment is our super speed pathway to happiness. Being in the present moment is our guide, is our now, is our creative moment. Anytime you can pull your energy into the present moment, you can hear your soul better, you can hear your own intuition better, and you have a more deep access of joy. Because if this whole life culminates to nothing else, what if our purpose is just to feel joy along the way and see who that positively impacts? Have you ever had someone walk into a room that's just radiating joy and you just feel joyful around them? You can be the light too when you begin to follow your joy, when you begin to listen to those nudgings and see where they guide you. But sometimes, again, it's not a straight point A to point B situation. Sometimes you need to have that job that isn't the right job, but you meet the right person at that job. And that right person refers you to a person who gives you an opportunity that's even better, that's more in alignment. And at that job, then you connect with a person that maybe you fall in love with. And then maybe you fall in love with that person and they have a family who also has an opportunity for you to be invited into to learn more about yourself or more about career or more about your purpose. It's all relevant. And when we start treating it as it all being relevant, then we stop getting hard on ourselves for opportunities that didn't work out or things that we thought were the right choice that weren't. My sister in law took a job a couple weeks ago, giving up a job she really loved because she wanted to work weekdays instead of weekends. So she was trying to get a job working weekdays, and she was waiting on this one particular position to come through, and it just kept stalling and stalling. So she ended up taking a different job that was also weekdays, and she hated it. And she was like, "How could my intuition be so off?" But when she accepted the job that wasn't the right fit, it opened up the resistance from the job that maybe was the right fit. And she was able to get that job within 2 weeks of starting the one that wasn't the right fit. So sometimes we can get ourselves in a position where just when we're trying to force something, when we really want something to happen, sometimes we'll feel called to take something else that's not the right fit just to open up the energy of something that is in our best and highest good. And I know that seems counterintuitive, but we force a lot. We want things to happen. We get stuck in hyper focused on certain things, and then we lose the opportunity. Trusting the universe knows what it's doing, trusting in your own intentions and seeing what unfolds is freaking hard. But man, if you can find a way to get there, if you can say, just for today, I'm going to follow those nudges. Just for today, I'm going to live in my light. Just for today, I'm going to go with what lights me up. Just for today, and every just for today after, you have those opportunities to see what your soul has to say, to see what path you're meant to be on. And the other crucial part of finding your purpose and living on purpose is being yourself. You are a unique individual expression. You are fucking special. You are unlike anybody else on this earth. And that is amazing and that's incredible. But we do spend a lot of our time wanting to be other people. We do spend a lot of time comparing and forcing and pretending. And what if just for today you had your actual responses? Your real authentic responses. What if just for today you were silly? What if just for today you played and laughed and were just full of yourself? Our full expression of ourselves is a bright light. And when we're a bright light, we attract opportunity. So a lot of times people are silly or quirky or but that's when they attract the right things. That is what makes them special. That's what makes them stand out. That's what makes them different is to be fully immersed in their authentic self. That is like a catalyst for all the right things. So being fully yourself and sometimes you have to remind yourself that it's safe to fully be yourself. And when you're fully yourself, the right people will show up for you. When you are fully yourself, the right people will show up for you. There was a time when I first started my business Clarity back in New York where I was really intuitive. I am really intuitive, but being really spiritual and intuitive feels a lot like what I imagine, quote unquote, coming out of the closet feels like. Um, It feels like there is a potential for people to reject you. It feels like people might not approve. It feels like people you really, really love and care about might not believe in who you feel you are. And that's freaking challenging. And I always find it bravery when people are fully authentic, right? When they announce, "This is who I am, and I don't care what you think." That is fucking brave. I don't care who you are. Um, it is fucking brave to announce who you are unapologetically, and I hope that you do because it's worth it. But when I first started saying, I'm intuitive, I feel energy, I read energy, I'm spiritual, I believe in a higher power, I have crystals, um, I know things before they're presented to me, and I don't know what that is or why. I mean, I had people who I lost as friends. I had people who told me I was worshiping the devil. I had when I had never felt closer to God. Um, I had people who just I loved that outright rejected me. And I think some of that was that shadowy work, right? Is that our world is our mirror. And I was so terrified of acknowledging who I truly was and sharing that with the world that I had predicted and anticipated and probably manifested some of that rejection. Um, the world is our mirror. And when I became to get into acceptance with that, some of those people who had rejected me, and it took me a good year and a half, 2 years to really be like, "This is who I am." And and when I was able to do that, I had people who had called and apologized, called and had maybe their own spiritual experiences that they wanted to discuss. And I wasn't ready, or maybe still never will be quite ready or wanting to have those people in my life, but they sure as hell taught me a lesson that when we find peace with ourselves, the world around us finds peace. And so I might encourage you right now in the midst of digging deep into your authenticity to look around you and see what the common themes are around you. Is there chaos? Is there conflict? Is there anger? Is there rejection? And then say, how is this a mirror for how I feel about myself? Is this a mirror for how I feel about myself? If there's rejection, are there people rejecting me? If there's abandonment, am I abandoning myself? If there's It's all a mirror. And we can really do a lot of that inner work of accepting ourselves and accepting and finding peace within ourselves and finding peace within our hearts, um, and loving for our fullness of who we are. And that's where the magic really happens in our healing process is when we become untouchable, when nothing anybody says or does can impact us because we're so full of love and light ourselves that we understand that people are who they can be, and hurt people hurt people. And I also believe that healed people can heal people or help people on their healing journey or act as an inspiration or act as a form of light. So today's a really good day to look around and ask yourself, what's next for me? What are the things that I can work on within myself? Because as I work on those things and accept the pieces of myself that maybe I've been rejecting, or accept the stories about myself that I've been telling for a long time that just simply aren't true, decide new stories, understand where they came from, appreciate where they came from, and then choose better ones. We don't have to just bypass everything. We can just say, ooh, this shadow work is tricky. Man, it's hard when you go through life and maybe hadn't, you don't feel seen, or you don't feel heard, or you don't feel valued. And then you're trying to produce work where you don't feel seen or heard or valued. But what if you see yourself? What if you hear yourself? What if you value yourself? How does that change the game? How does that change your vibration? Dig a little deeper today. Dig a little deeper to ask yourself those questions of, what is this world reflecting back to me about who I am or what I believe, or those core beliefs that maybe I wasn't aware I had? Because this will help you step into your authenticity. This will help you truly be able to follow your light unapologetically in whatever way it guides you. And this will help you step into your purpose. Because again, purpose doesn't have to be career, but what it is an expression of who you are in the world, and the opportunities will follow. And so sometimes there's also patience that's required when we're stepping into our purpose, right? Is that it doesn't always happen step, point A to point B with the steps in place. Sometimes it's simply, okay, for today, I'm going to live in my light and I'm going to be an authentic expression of myself. And if I'm not sure who exactly that is, I'm going to dig deep and I'm going to explore, and I'm going to have fun with that. And I'm going to get to know myself again. And I'm going to look at the things that do light me up. And I'm going to just pay attention throughout the day of the things that make me feel a little more alive, that make me feel a little more seen, that make me feel a little more valued. I'm going to pay attention to the people who bring that out in me. I'm going to pay attention to the patterns in my external world and explore how they might be reflected into my internal world. And that's how we find our purpose, friends. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be grueling. It doesn't have to be magical. It can be. Sure as hell can be. But sometimes it just comes with doing the work and committing to ourselves, loving ourselves, showing up for ourselves, being consistent with ourselves, and taking good fucking care of ourselves. And that's all I have for you today, but I hope you step into your purpose. I am taking one-on-one sessions, booking into November currently. And yeah, let me know if you want to get on my schedule. And yeah, I'm wishing you all just so much love and light and patience and compassion on your journey today and finding your purpose. Make sure to follow me on NicholeEaton.xo on Instagram. All right, guys, I'll catch you later. Thank you so much for listening to the Rock Your Soul book and podcast. Take a moment to book a one-on-one session with me or purchase my trainings at NicholeEaton.com. Join the Rock Your Soul Facebook group or follow me on Instagram at NicholeEaton.xo. And if you loved this podcast, don't forget to share it. Thank you.